Once upon a time, in the grand estate of Eldoria, there lived a woman of great substance named Lady Isabella. She and her husband Douglas possessed everything that money could buy. Their mansion was adorned with the finest art, their wardrobes filled with the most exquisite garments, and their days were filled with lavish luxuries. However, in the midst of all these material accumulations, Lady Isabella's joy remained limited, for her heart ached with an unfulfilled desire. The source of her discontent was simple yet profound. Lady Isabella longed for a child of her own.
I'm not giving up. If I be Lady Isabella, I will do anything within my power to have my own child.
Despite spending her youthful years with Douglas, she had been unable to conceive. Countless visits to renowned physicians and the finest medical attention proved futile, leaving her feeling a void that not even the grandeur of their possessions could fill. One day, in a moment of vulnerability, Douglas tried to console his wife.
Isabella, my love, we may not have our own flesh and blood, but we have spiritual children. The orphans we've embraced and cared for are ours in every sense.
But Lady Isabella, driven by an earnest heart desire, would have none of it.
Blessed without a child, one will be enough for me, darling,
She would retort angrily to anyone who tried to reason with her. One is enough for me, mine darling, she would argue, tears streaming down her cheeks. As time passed, Lady Isabella found herself unable to suppress the yearning for the touch of a baby. Her most trusted family members' and friends' words failed to comfort her. All that was said and done to soothe her yearning for a child of her own resulted to nothing. Loneliness became her companion, and she resorted to the woods and talking to the animals for consolation.
Oh, my little friend, how I've bored you with my sad tales.
Unbeknownst to her husband, she began to seek solutions everywhere, even indulging in practices she would have once deemed unthinkable. Desperation led her to make a pact with a sorcerer named Omen, with the assistance of her loyal male servant, Fidel. Fidel Micah, the elderly male servant, had been Lady Isabella's confidant in her quest for a child. He led her to Omen, a sorcerer known for providing solutions to desperate needs. Fidel believed that Omen could grant Lady Isabella the one thing she desired most. Omen, a sorcerer with an ancient magical power, agreed to help Lady Isabella. However, the cost of his assistance was steep, and the consequences were unknown. Fidel and Lady Isabella, driven by desperation, agreed to Omen's terms without their master's knowledge. Little did they know that the path they had chosen would lead them into a world of shadows and consequences that would challenge the very essence of what they held dear. The tale of Lady Isabella, Douglas, and the quest for a child was about to take a dark turn, where the price of desire would be measured in more than just material possessions. Not long after, Lady Isabella bore a child, a beautiful girl named Louise.
I've waited so long, my child.
Her arrival brought joy to the home of Lord Douglas. However, the devil's generosity came with a dark condition. Louise was never to allow herself to be touched by rain.
Do not play in the rain, my child. It's forbidden.
The warning echoed ominously in Isabella's ears, but the desperate mother chose to overlook the consequences for the sake of her newfound happiness. Her husband, Lord Douglas, had no knowledge of the path the wife had taken because she kept it a secret.
Douglas will never know Fidel. The secret will be buried with us.
Douglas will never know Lady Isabella had strictly warned her male servant Fidel. The secret will be buried with us, Fidel, she had on that day warned. As Louise blossomed into a teenager, the temptation of rain became irresistible.
Of what use is childhood when I'm forbidden to play in the rain with my friends? Maybe I'm cursed.
One fateful day, dark clouds gathered, and raindrops began to fall like liquid crystals from the heavens. Louise, lured by the laughter of her friends playing in the rain, succumbed to the temptation.
Rain!
The mother, who could have stopped her and had watched her from time to time, as a hawk will watch a chick, was out of town. The maids were preoccupied and didn't know when the young girl secretly left.
Help!
Loyus stepped outside, feeling the cool drops on her skin. At first, it was pure bliss, the joy of being a carefree teenager. However, as the rain continued to pour, an unnatural transformation took place. Louise's flesh began to dissolve, much like salt in water. The horror of the onlookers was palpable as they witnessed her turning into a puddle of water. "My father," she cried, as she dissolves, "save me, father," was all she could utter before she completely dissolves. Lady Isabella and her husband, who had been watching from a distance, screamed in agony as their beloved daughter melted away before their eyes.
Douglas, save our child!
Lord Douglas was taken aback, horrified. The villagers gathered, their faces etched with shock and disbelief. Louise's laughter turned to cries of despair and pain. It rang ceaselessly in the ear of the onlookers as she dissolved completely, leaving behind only a puddle of water where she once stood. Before her father, Lord Douglas was able to grab a part of what was left of her.
"Oh, my child, what in the heaven's name is this? Save me, Lord."
Isabella, now a broken woman, collapsed to the ground. The joy that she had bargained for had turned into an unimaginable tragedy. Her husband Douglas stood speechless to the spot, pains and horror written on his face. "What have you done, my dear Isabella?" was all he could utter.
"What have you done, my dear Isabella?"
The village mourned the loss of Louise, a girl whose existence was but a fleeting moment, washed away by the tears of the heavens. And in the village, the tale of Isabella and Louise became a cautionary legend, a reminder that some bargains come at a cost too steep to bear. The end.